There is an occult legend that the Holy Grail isn't a cup at all, but a massive emerald. It's said that during a war in heaven, the Archangel Michael struck a jewel from Lucifer's forehead, sending it plummeting into the void. This specific, visceral imagery bears no resemblance to the traditional Christian cup of the Last Supper, a humble wooden vessel passed between a carpenter and his followers. The Emerald Grail is a compelling story, but it shares a problem with almost everything we think we know about the devil. It does not exist in biblical scripture. In the original texts, the name Lucifer is never once used to describe a fallen angel. This leaves us with a historical vacuum, a character who is the face of ultimate evil, yet lacks a foundation in the book he supposedly comes from. The Emerald Grail is just one layer in a much larger composite sketch. To find the source of the devil, we have to peel back centuries of translation errors and medieval poetry to see how the character was actually built. The true origin of the name lies in Isaiah 14:12, but the prophet wasn't describing a cosmic rebellion. He was delivering a sarcastic political insult aimed at a human being, the king of Babylon. Isaiah used a specific astronomical metaphor. He compared the Babylonian king's sudden fall from power to the way the morning star, the planet Venus, fades and disappears as the sun rises. When early scholars translated the Hebrew scriptures into the Latin Vulgate, they converted the term for morning star into the literal Latin equivalent for light-bringer, Lucifer. Later Christian readers stripped this Latin word of its political context. They took the poetic description of a king's fading glory and misread it as a literal account of an angel cast out of heaven. Through a simple linguistic shift, a political taunt against a dead monarch became the name of the definitive theological villain of the Western world. By the 13th century, that villain became the subject of a medieval pop culture phenomenon. At Wartburg Castle, competitive knight poets gathered to outdo each other with increasingly elaborate stories. These bards mashed up separate literary worlds. They took the Book of Ezekiel's description of a cherub covered in jewels and fused it with Wolfram von Eschenbach's poem Parsifal, which had recently defined the Grail as a magical stone. This contest produced the specific invention we saw earlier, the idea that the Holy Grail was actually a jewel dislodged from Lucifer's crown during his rebellion. This era demonstrates how competitive storytelling could overwrite religious text. These poets established images in the public mind that became more enduring than the actual verses of the Bible. The myth took its final form in the 1850s through the cultural influence of Richard Wagner's opera, Lohengrin. A patron named Princess Caroline Sayn-Wittgenstein wrote the opera's program notes, but she summarized the medieval poetry incorrectly. She morphed the Grail from a stone set in a crown into a cup entirely carved from a crown jewel. While the general public accepted this romantic cup, 19th century occultists like Helena Blavatsky looked back at the Latin roots of Lightbringer and intentionally reclaimed the name. These occultists merged the Lightbringer identity with the Serpent of Eden and the Greek myth of Prometheus. They celebrated the character as a tragic liberator who suffered to bring forbidden knowledge to mankind. Esoteric counterculture completed the transformation, taking a symbol of ultimate evil and rebranding it as a tragic, heroic rebel. The historical journey is absurd. A sarcastic joke about a Babylonian king somehow mutated into an emerald-browed liberator of humanity. It shows that religious myths are rarely static texts. They are living composite structures. Each era, from mistranslating monks to competitive bards and opera fans, projected its own fascinations onto the character. Thousands of years evolving the figure of Lucifer tell us very little about a spiritual underworld, but they reveal exactly how humanity reinvents its ultimate villains to reflect itself.